Enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
Hey folks, we're back here for another Monday Night Raw video. And of course, I'm gonna keep it straight. The promos are more exciting than the action in the show. Now, I understand some people might disagree with me in that aspect, but Seth Rollins was unsettling. Edge's was sincere, really intimidating, and genuine. And I think a lot of promos were like that for a majority of the show. And at least a feud with the Big Show is better than what happened back in 2013 involving the WWE Championship. That's all I'm going to say because the Big Show is fighting for somebody, and I guess he's staying babyface until he wants to turn heel. He can literally do whatever he wants at that point, with Randy just forcibly calling himself a legend like he had to say it. Of course, we open up with Nia Jax, I think this was earlier in the show, standing up in the chair because of the championship weekend. There would be championships on the line involving the Raw Women's title being on the line, Charlotte Flair getting a shot against Asuka, in a must-win situation because Asuka never pinned Charlotte before, and she have lost twice in the year against Charlotte since being on Raw. And the tag team championships were on the line. The Raw tag team titles were on the line. The United States title was not on the line. The WWE Championship sure as hell wasn't on the line. So that's practically the selling point of the show. Plus, Ric Flair was supposed to announce that, of course, Randy Orton's the greatest pro wrestler ever, to just mock in the face of Edge after literally just beating him back at Backlash and then punting Christian in the face. It was a mixed bag, and that's the saddest part, because I was trying to enjoy the show. The Asuka and Charlotte match was literally match of the night, in my opinion. It wasn't like turn for turn predictable, and it didn't end in a basic finish. Like the Montez Ford finish for the match was pretty fast. Spinebuster, these guys known each other for a long time, so you expected the match to be a bit longer in that aspect. It did end off the frog splash. And there was a couple drop kicks and pounces. Ibar doing that slam into a power slam into a power bomb into always getting a near fall. And they mocked the Viking experience finishing move. So yeah, you expect a bit more. R-Truth had two segments involving interrupting Nia Jax promo-wise, so she giving an opportunity after squandering both of them. Then, out of nowhere later on the night, after he just came around again. But in short, we opened up with, of course, Drew McIntyre bringing over his victory in the tag team match involving him putting his title on the line for Truth the previous week against Lashley and MVP. Guess who's a surprise trade from McIntyre? For AJ Styles, with of course McIntyre remarking that was this a 2-for-1 deal? Of course, devaluing Dolph Ziggler, that pretty much he does himself every fucking promo. It's literally the same thing. With at least McIntyre here, ignoring his BS, saying that you think the world always revolves around you. It's time for you to earn it, and accepts his challenge at Extreme Rules to be given what he's technically owed after earning the WWE Championship by himself. I guess Ziggler's part is just to get McIntyre over. What the consistent storytelling is, these guys had a dominant tag team title reign, even though I think it only lasted for like a month. And if you're tag team champion for like a month, what's wrong with you? I guess that's some regard to actually get some close relationship, or just any reason for these guys to feud. I guess I wanted a 3-month feud with Lashley and McIntyre, because these guys actually had one of my favorite matches of Backlash, and they shown to have decent chemistry, and it's been revolving over Lana and Lashley and MVP. So I want something to regard that, plus keeping Lashley in a legitimate main event scene. Now it looks like they're going to be targeting Apollo, so they can try to keep Lashley on the up and up and still make him look legit, and try to give at least some regards on Apollo actually having a decent title reign. Even though I thought the trade for AJ Styles was the equivalent for David Johnson and Hopkins, and if you guys don't know what that trade was, you guys only watch my wrestling. So, yeah. This show could have been so much better if it had any more notable matches. Asuka and Charlotte had the best match of the night, in my assumed opinion. I already talked about this earlier in the review, but just big boot after big boot. A moonsault standing, and it got into a smooth transitional arm breaker. Even though she does that every other match, it just shows how Asuka can be somewhat uniquely entertaining, but weird, and still beat the shit out of people. So she still looks legitimate. Inverted DDT after, I don't know why she doesn't do the national selection anymore. Finger four leg lock got caught in the rope. The figure eight got caught in the ropes. Smart move. A spear got also caught in the ropes. Decent near fall after near fall until rear crossface chicken wing. Got the match won for Asuka for the first time ever. Actually taking out Charlotte clean without any outside interference, and finally winning a match. Getting that out of her head for once, and it looks like Nia Jax that was consulting with Charlotte earlier in the night over regarding her family, and obviously why isn't she getting a title shot? Because you suck and you always lose. I don't even know why they still keep Nia Jax on TV if she's the irresistible force that still loses clean. She has lost more times to Asuka than anybody else on the roster, starting all the way from NXT. And then she comes around only having one feud with Alexa Bliss, and people think she's a promising talent. For what? I understand people don't want to be mean. I don't want to be mean, but it's honesty. Nia Jax does nothing for the business except support fat people. There's nothing regarding her character that makes it entertaining like a Mark Henry. If you want me to go, a personal color, that of course is a heavyweight. No. Mark Henry had legitimacy. He was a former Olympian turned wrestler. He was part of the Attitude Era days when he was part of the Nation of Domination and barely had his spot for the world title until like the 2000s, like late 2000s. Hall of Pain crap, all of that in over a span of a 20-year career. That actually took storylines. They've been pushing Nia Jax to be a legitimate top woman on the roster since she debuted, coming from NXT. And she lost to Charlotte. She loses clear to Asuka every other match. She had a BS feud with Alexa Bliss. Majority of anybody she interacts with ends on goddamn an injury list. And she just comes around just doing the same thing, getting everybody's faces, and immediately trying to feel like this is goddamn intimidation tactic, always getting in someone's face with your fat ass and just rolling around the body. Your fucking body just always coming close to Charlie Caruso for no reason. And that's her intimidating factor. Not like you look like Wendy Williams only used lipo on her fucking face and the rest of the fat went over to the body. Just absolutely dumb. I am so happy Asuka won clean. The match was really nice. I don't think it could top their match that they did last year on SmackDown. Even though this match was abrupt, this was a more important match and had a better story. So, yeah, I'm going to just give it this because Asuka at least won her match. This is a great match. I don't know what they're going to do for Charlotte at this case, man. I obviously think like Charlotte should just be like a part-timer at this point. or at least go somewhere else. I understand she obviously has a bit of a pull in the WWE. There was also a promo involving the fixation that, of course, Angel Garza gets everybody wet because he speaks in a bit of Spanish, and he comes around feeling like a freaking epileptic every time he tries to lower his head down, trying to talk to Charlie Caruso. Caruso's just built to get always wet every time he speaks a sentence, with, of course, the commentator bringing up that somehow they're now on the same page out of nowhere, targeting for the tag team titles, even though I know it's not going to enter much because they ended up attacking the Street Profits as soon as they were down for the count. They were, of course, exhausted over their match they had with the Viking Raiders. Edge comes around, finally reintroducing the Rated R Superstar, even though I thought we were getting that in the WrestleMania match they had literally months ago. And he comes around saying that he's not the PG guy. Coming here, he's not a PG guy. Happy to be here. He's here to be more vicious. He's here to be more malice. And if you know you're super malice, you wouldn't. I don't think this would be allowed. Obviously, because he's a veteran, he's well respected in the business. I understand they would make him say nearly anything they want, but it isn't the type of thing that obviously children in the crowd would get out of nowhere. That you would say to your opponent, I will make you feel like Cowboy Bob Orton was shooting blanks the time you were conceived. This is brought to you by the Make a Wish Foundation. This was a really good personal promo. Really felt like Edge was absolutely heartbroken about Christian being not being medically cleared to wrestle, and it was tough. Edge. Then they transitioned into Caruso speaking to Randy Orton, just saying that he is not willing to defend himself. Obviously, he embarrassed Edge, and yeah, it ended up with the Big Show coming out interrupting their promo. He did tease that he had something. He's coming in as a heartless giant. I really don't care because Big Show just gets on and off. Is he heel or babyface? Because he just came up looking heel as soon as he attacked the babyface champion Drew McIntyre after his Mania match with Lesnar. And coming around babyface defending Christian and Edge. So it's like, what are they doing with him other than to just build up some heat? Even though nobody at this point gave a shit about Big Show at this point, thought he retired already. People thought they would have something serious for him to do when he somehow got fat people abs and was in the Rumble, and he still got treated like a giant sandbag, so that went absolutely nowhere. And we got into, of course, Ric Flair giving his minute respect since he's been here, paved the way for him. And of course, Big Show brought up, I think the same thing AJ Styles said, that you get better off other people and you leech off them until like a little parasite. I thought that was a good line, to be honest. I'm just admitting this dialogue is way better than we have for the last several weeks. It was actually more personal and genuine, and it actually made some logical sense. I'll give it that aspect. The sad thing was they only had one good match. Ended up with Randy and Rick running away. Well, not running. Rick can't run. The characters all out of the attack over R-Truth. I think he was still looking for Akira Tozawa for some apparent reason. He got vice script, obviously, for pinning him back at the tag team match last week. Then Akira Tozawa stole the pin, took the pin, and became 24/7 champion. I think for the third or fourth time. No one cares. It's a jobber belt. There's no reason for this. You get unnecessary TV time, even though you get no character. Even though his former character was literally just a 205 Live jobber that screams like a monkey. Or, like, screams like a monkey getting a flu shot. And if you want to know how that sounds like, what's wrong with you? So, next up we had Liv Morgan against Natalya, of course, over the falling out of a failure to pin the Iconics in the tag team match. and obviously building an allegiance with Lana after her recent falling out with Bobby Lashley. So they just came off the relevant bitches that are still here because Natalia has pulled in. Brett will stab Vince if you screw her again, and Lana's just here because she can sort of twerk. So Vince just keeps all the eights here. The match ended as quickly as it can. Somehow, Liv Morgan lost to, I guess, finally bring some legitimacy to Natalia because of her shit feuds she's been getting over the past several months or years. At this case, she was supposed to have some kind of feud with Lacey Evans that went nowhere except a couple last man standing matches. Charlotte, every feud she had with Charlotte was a bomb. Her trying to get over other women even though they're irrelevant, and plus Charlotte and Bayley are already there, so building up your legitimacy is more easier than a woman that really hasn't done anything unless it was 2012 to 11. It's just poor, and just building up this heat magnet to at least have a heelish group other than the Iconics, Bayley and Sasha was. It's just poor, and it just ends up with a young attractive woman like Liv Morgan. Please do not masturbate to her pictures before clicking out, bro. I don't want that mentality in my mind. It's just, eh. Everything was going Liv's way for a while until distraction off Lana counting into a sharpshooter. So Natalia went, and I don't care because I think Natalia should have left. Like, she has done so much for her career. She's like a multi-time Divas champion. She's obviously been here since 2008, so she's seen a lot of changes in the women's division. Even though she always says that she paved the way, I know this is just her character. I'm not trying to attack her as a person, but you know she was just there while like AJ Lee was there, Cool was there, Gail Kim, Eve Torres, Beth Phoenix, Mickey James. There's a lot more important and better women than her. I mean, I'm not denouncing her skills in the ring. She's above average. She's a great wrestler, but she's like either not that appealing of a character, or she just does the same moves except shows some more technicality because she shows that she has a lot more in her arsenal. Thanks back then you could wrestle like 5 minutes. Now women's matches have been like at least 2 to 3 women's matches, and you can wrestle for at least 13 minutes or more tops. There's been Iron Man matches, Hell in a Cell matches, Royal Rumbles, Elimination Chambers, nearly everything to keep these women looking is equivalently more important than the men, and it still ain't shit. And Natalia doesn't do anything to change that other than being the grizzled vet that sort of thinks that she's doing a job. We of course had our tag team women's championship match with the Iconics facing off against the Golden Role Models. Yes, they have their own name now. Over like the last 8 months. So, yeah, we have Sasha Banks and Bayley facing off against the Iconics over a challenge from literally just a SmackDown ago. And the match was just punch, taking distraction from the refs. Billie Kay always trying to scream every time in a spot. I think there was a moonsault by, I think a splash from Peyton Royce, running Meteora, and ended off a bank statement. So there wasn't really that much a call. The match was forgettable at this point that, that the Iconics isn't that much of a compelling wrestling group unless they're in a different stipulation. That it's better off that they please just do different stipulations in these tag team matches, please. No one's just gonna watch a championship match, like 3 normal championship matches. Like, spice things up. Make it a street fight. Make it a cage match. Make it a lumberjack Jill. Do they still call it lumberjill? If they do, I don't know. Make it different. Make it a tornado tag team match. Cause just make something spicing up the women's tag team matches. Cause there's been any memorable women's tag team title matches in the course of the last 2 years that the belt's been introduced. And the legitimacy came from primarily just Asuka and Kairi Sane, because they're fun wrestlers to watch, and as awkward as it is, literally just listening to them just speak out Japanese out of nowhere without subtitles to understand what the hell they're saying, they're at least entertaining to watch in the ring, and they at least have more compelling matches, and they can make anything work. Iconics are annoying, and they're supposed to be built as the baby faces because they're on Raw. And it just ended up with an immediate attack with Asuka trying to help out the Iconics, and then Sasha Banks looking like she's targeting the Raw Women's Championship, even though she's a SmackDown superstar. So it makes no sense in that certain appeal, and plus people have been waiting for her to turn against Bayley and feud with her for the SmackDown Women's title for like a minute. So this is just dumb. It's completely dumb. Like I would like to see Banks versus Asuka, so it's gonna be pretty dumb. Next up, we had, of course, Apollo in the VIP lounge with, of course, MVP being interviewed before his VIP lounge interview with Apollo Crews, with, of course, leisuring him to join the Hurt Corporation. I think it's Hurt Enterprise, involving him and Lashley. What happened to Brendan Vink and the other guy, Adam Thorne? That went absolutely nowhere. These guys like pinned Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, and Cedric Alexander and Ricochet weren't going nowhere. Even though I liked their tag team, even though it devalued Ricochet because he came from a top of the line upper mid carder that was always exciting to watch, to winning the U.S. title, to getting a world title opportunity, to putting a finger up his ass legitimately, and being in a tag team in just a span of like 7 months. The guy just came from NXT, and we don't even know a character set for himself. It's that tough for no reason. And of course, Apollo comes around, wins it off the spin out powerbomb after an assault from Shelton Benjamin, distracted by MVP. Counters with spin heel kicks and enziguri off Apollo Crews, and you have two athletically gifted black men wrestling, and the match lasts for like under 10 minutes. There's a problem with a lack of storytelling and a lack of legitimacy, other than a couple of shots fired on MVP. Of course, being one of the more longer reigning United States champions in history, and even that doesn't even try to get Apollo Crews over, even though it should. It should. And it's still not giving much into Apollo Crews, thinks he doesn't have much of a character. Even though how much MVP wants to actually make something out of Apollo Crews. Yet his character is just, he's black, he smiles, and he does flips. Yay. And he doesn't have that much of a compelling look to him. Nothing about him changed. Except the color of his wrestling tights. At least the match was more interesting to watch than the tag team title match. Even though the championship wasn't on the line. We, of course, had Mysterio returning to Raw, discussing over the attempt of Dominic assaulting the Monday Night Messiah, literally on Raw just a week ago, after not knowing that he was coming to Raw, even though it looks like he was coming to Raw after the video. He could just replay it back and just say, "Yo, Dominic, don't you dare leave this damn house." It's just smart. It's just a smarter way of going with it. Dominic did come out. Mysterio came out and obviously had a heartwarming discussion with his son, going over, "It might be bigger than me," blah, blah, blah. I'm still your old man. Then Dominic comes around, still not knowing when to shut the fuck up, and he just comes around challenging Rollins and the rest of the Monday Night and the rest of the disciples into a certain unvey. Aleister Black, I hate him being babyface. It doesn't work for his character. And Humberto Carrillo, because La Hispanic. So it just came out with them with chairs, assisting with Buddy Murphy and Austin Theory, teasing that Dominic was gonna hit his face on the his eye on the steel steps. Then they moved to Rollins immediately putting his feet on the steps so he doesn't get face first with it. And it ends with chairs with Humberto Carrillo and Aleister Black moving out the group of 619 on Rollins. Then we fade the Black there, and we're up to the fucking Nerf gun logo Extreme Rules. I guess it's always like WWE's thing to like half-ass it for the money. And what relevance are you even getting with this? Because relevance adds to more money. WWE like are either losing their big personality shift. And I understand WWE can be corny at times. That's literally been their thing. But Jesus Christ, it's just so cringe. I thought this was one of the weaker segments of the night. Next to the Nia Jax promos, the R-Truth feuding for Kirizawa and Jesus Christ. Like he had some more entertaining parts when he was literally interrupting Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar when he thought he was inducting himself in until he confused Heyman for Lesnar and literally backing off as soon as Lesnar was the actual participant in the Rumble. That was the funniest part of the show, and literally saving grace of my mood. This was just a weak show. Still, I'll be nice for once because actually the promos overshadowed the rest of the matches, and the Asuka and Charlotte match was match of the night. I'm not gonna call it match of the year per se, but this was pretty much one of the better matches with a decent story, with a compelling ending. So I'm gonna give it that. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. For now, WWE, you better try to put this into a 6. I swear to God, I haven't gave it a 6 for any episode of for any episode of Raw until like I think the second week after the Rumble. So yeah, I can't give it a 6 yet. So you guys better do your job. But I know we're gonna go into bad episodes of Raw soon. So yeah, that's it. Come from the DST show. Like, comment, and subscribe, and of course watch my previous videos. I hope I'm not lazy and I remind myself to add more of the clips. Like add tabs to the other videos involving Madden and a previous episode of Raw. So that's it. Thanks for watching.